Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and this is the weekly wrap-up. Today, I have a special guest. Okay, so I have a few books to talk about for this wrap-up. I only finished 3 books this week, and then we have a little request from you guys for Mama. But what I thought I would do for these 3 books is I'm going to tell you the name of the book, and then you tell me what you think the book is about. And I'll see if you're right, okay? So I finished reading, the first book I finished reading is called A Place Like Mississippi.
What do I think the book is about?
Yeah, what do you think that's about?
Landscape.
Well, kind of. It's about literature in Mississippi. But did you know how many writers came from Mississippi?
They ain't got anything else.
The reason that it's funny to me about so many authors coming from Mississippi is because in all the educational things, everybody's like, oh, Mississippi's at the bottom and Mississippi is the lowest one. This book just explores the state of Mississippi and how the landscape of Mississippi influenced the writers of the state.
So they really write about Mississippi.
Yes. And he even took people that had moved out of Mississippi and still wrote about Mississippi, and he used those people as well. Okay. That was a nonfiction book, and it was one of my NPR books that I drew to read. So, the next one that I read is a fiction book called The Suck Stops Here. What do you think that's about? I'll show you the cover. Well, what's on the cover?
Hold on. A tombstone.
Yeah?
So death stops here?
Well, they're vampires.
Well, all right.
It's called The First Fangs Club, is the series, and it's about a woman who was married to a mobster, and she thought she was a widow, and she went to the cemetery to visit his grave and got attacked by a vampire. Got attacked by somebody, and a vampire turned her to keep her from dying. So then she was plunged into this vampire world. So she went from being part of the mob's world to being part of the vampire world.
Well, that sounds pretty good to me.
This is the 4th book in the series. I really loved the first 3. I did not like this book.
Oh, really?
It was a long book to tell us absolutely nothing. Everything that happened was at the very end, and I was like, she could have, cut out. I mean, it told us the conversations that they had.
I call those books too wordy.
They rented an RV to go across the country because they're vampires and they don't want to fly in a plane,
Yeah.
And they described not just every room in the RV.
Why don't they want to fly in a plane?
Because they have to rent their own private plane, which costs more money than getting an RV. Like if they want to make sure it's all enclosed and everything stays dark and they fly.
Oh, okay, gotcha. They have to keep in control.
Yeah, so they rent the RV.
Like that.
But they explain, she walks you through every bit of the RV and even the conversation they had to reserve the RV. We don't care about all that. That's too much.
She was having a bad time writing that is what happened. No telling what was going on in her everyday world.
And the last one, the cover's not going to help you at all, but I just finished it last night, and it's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
What do I think that one's about? Is it what is it?
It's a fiction novel, fantasy. They're trying to bring magic back to England.
Oh. I have no idea what that. I mean, the cover and the word.
I know the cover is just plain. The cover will be right here between us.
Okay,
that's where I'll pop them all up. Right. The cover gives you nothing. Mr. Norrell is the only magician in England, and Jonathan Strange is trying to learn on his own, and Mr. Norrell takes him in and tries to teach him magic. Well, he does teach him magic, and I really loved the first 75% of this book. And this is a very long book. On audio, it was 32 hours on audio. So, wow. It's really long. Mm-hmm. And I really loved the first part of it. It was so funny. I don't know, the way the narrator writes, it's just really funny. but the last 25% of the book took forever. They discover something about fairies, like having kind of the control of magic. And I'm trying not to give things away that happen, but it's important because the fairy just wants to kidnap beautiful women and keep them dancing in his like house all the time. And so the magicians are trying to figure out how to get the people back. And anyway, he discovers that he has to be insane. Insane people seem to be able to see the fairy world. So he tries to do this thing that makes him insane, but only for short periods of time. And so that whole part is just, I don't know. It was weird because then...
It's weird to me that you had to make yourself insane
to see the fairy world. So he was, anyway, just all of that didn't make sense, of course, because he didn't make sense. Like, he thought that everybody had candles inside their head, and he kept saying, aren't you worried that candle's going to go out in your head? So, anyway, it was...
that was a little over the top for something that is... that's just...
Yeah,
I
and
have to have some reality somewhere.
It's too long. So, that brings us, though, to what we're asking for you. Okay, so Mama is going to describe her ideal book or the things that she likes in a book. Okay, y'all are going to recommend some books. Mama's going to pick out the books down there, and then she's going to
read the book.
When I'm at your house in June, and then we will do this again for the wrap up in June, and you can talk about the book you read.
Okay.
And if you liked it or not. So, you take what do you like in books?
Okay, I like books that follow through with the theme all the way through it. And I do like suspense. No, let me say, I like mysteries. Because if Amanda has read some books that I wouldn't even pick up off the shelf to look at the cover. Especially the one, Anyway.
Tender is the flesh.
That is all I keep thinking about. When I saw that on her breed list, I didn't
finish it. It was too gross.
Well, I figured it would be. But you got to admit, the cover did give it all away. You knew what you were into. But I like books that the man is the protector and the helper. I like strong-willed women. I like a man that...
So are you wanting romance? Are you wanting mystery? Or are you wanting something that has both?
Well, it has to have a little bit of romance, but not a lot. I mean, some books I've read is 34 pages of nothing but the first time they had sex. And I'm like, I don't think I want that.
Okay. So we call it closed door and open door.
Well, I want that door closed.
Okay. So closed door romances, but mystery, not just romance.
Right.
Right. So there's a thing called cozy mysteries. Have you read any of those?
No. I don't want anybody buried alive either. That just goes beyond me.
No, they're called cozy mysteries because there's no blood. I mean, like, people die, but there's no
blood don't
gore.
bother me.
There's no...
It's when they're alive and they're buried and they can't get out. That just...
We don't want to be overrun with cozy mysteries because I know they go all over the place. So give us some cozy mysteries. I'm specifically talking to you, Stephanie. Stephanie lives in Arkansas and she loves cozy mysteries. And then, let's see, maybe mysteries that are not so cozy but not super scary.
Yeah.
And no buried alive.
No.
I don't think I've ever read a book where they're buried alive.
Oh, I have.
Oh.
I can't believe that the author that I told you about, the first book I read of him, the girl was buried alive, and I thought I was going to.
So is there a book that you've read recently that you liked?
Not really. Most of them I don't read until I go to bed because...
Also, do you have Kindle Unlimited or you have Prime?
I have Kindle.
There's two different. There's a Prime reading list and a Kindle Unlimited list.
Well, thank you very much. I did not know that.
Okay, so she has Kindle Unlimited and Prime. So her Libby choices are not great.
No,
so if you guys, her library is tiny. So if you guys know something that's specifically on Kindle Unlimited or Prime reading, recommend those because she has those available. Anything else? You don't mind it being an ebook? or you want a physical book?
I love for it to be ebooks.
Okay, ebooks. There we go. Okay, well, I only have one more announcement. I'm not going to talk about anything that I'm still reading or what's coming up next because I'll talk about that next time.
Every time she says, I have one more announcement to y'all, and I'm listening, I'm thinking, surely she's not going to have to say she's pregnant.
You seriously think that I'm going to announce on the YouTube channel so that you'll watch it? That
Well,
I'm pregnant?
it's a big announcement, and you say, I have a big announcement.
Well, it's about reading. A big announcement about reading. This is not an announcement about reading. I have put on my website my first short story in a very long time, and it's not finished. It is the rough draft of a short story that I wrote in March last year. So I am walking you through the process of the editing. So it's on the website. I'm going to put a link in the description. It's super short. Go read it if you want to. Let me know what you think about it. I am going to be editing it this week, and next week I'm sure there'll be another link in there, and it'll be at least the next step, maybe not the final step of what it's going to look like, but I do know what the ending is going to be. So go down and check that out. Thank you for joining us, and we are thanking you in advance for the recommendations that you're going to give her, and I'll see you in my next video.
Bye.
Why'd you say it like that?
Bye, y'all.